everybody, welcome back to another episode of The Thinking Project. I'll keep this introduction short because I want you guys to hear this amazing interview. And I know I say this every time, but I interview some awesome people. And I really appreciate you guys listening, tuning in, and most importantly, sharing this with your friends because that's how the podcast grows. Make sure that you're following me and you're joining the newsletter. The newsletter is on daltonkjensen.com. And you can find me on all social media, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, at Dalton K. Jensen. And then, of course, last thing, if you're a business owner and you want to talk business strategy and selling, or if you're a sales consultant or a 1099 employee and you want to get better at selling and connecting with clients and connecting with your boss or things like that, join my Empathetic Sales Training Mastermind. You can find that on empatheticselling.com. The link will be in the description below. But without further ado, let me introduce Jay Croft, who is a NFT photographer. He is also a business owner. I have a lot of his swag. You've seen me wear it. And it was just an amazing conversation. He's a genuine human being. I love these conversations. So thank you so much for tuning in. And with all that being said, let me introduce Jay Croft and make sure you share this with your friends. All right, we're rolling. I'm going to do the same thing too, Jay, by the way. I'm going to get a water.
Beautiful. There you go.
Freaking these things are crazy. Do you mess with Liquid Death? Have you ever heard of that brand?
I have. Yeah, man. At first I thought it was like some gnarly energy drink, but
go ahead.
Oh, it ends up just some water, you know?
Being water. My friends, I drink it and people think I'm drinking beer. Like I don't drink. So people are like, what are you doing with a beer, dude?
Gotcha. No, it definitely looks like a beer.
Yeah, I'm like, oh shoot. But it's they do a really good job with like branding and stuff. But cool.
Oh, for sure.
Jay, welcome, my friend. Thank you so much for joining me.
For sure, bro. Thanks for having me on. I'm super grateful to be here.
Yeah, I'm super grateful you're here. We met. I've been following you on Twitter actually for a while because I love the NFT space. I love your photography. So anytime I'm like, and I love the stuff that I'm not good at. Like I'm not good at photography or NFTs. So that's why I love it so much because I get to learn and I get to experience like the creativeness with everybody. But I think where we really hit it off was that tweet that you had about growing up with parents. Like my mom is Hawaiian, right? And your dad is African-American, right?
Yeah. Which no one believes me when I say that. Like, what? You're crazy. And then I show them a picture. They're like, okay, I kind of believe you now. So yeah, it's an interesting dynamic. But
it really is, dude. Because I grew up the same way. Like my grandpa, like they're all Polynesian. And so like I have my Polynesian tattoo and people all the time will go like, why did you get a Polynesian tattoo? You're white. And I'm like, well, I'm actually not, but thanks for
Gotcha. Dude, story of my life, man. No, it's cool that I can, relate to you that way because there's not a lot of us out there.
I'm just like not, it just didn't get whatever. I don't know, but it's cool, man. So you get like a unique dynamic and yeah, I totally understand that. I totally feel that.
100%.
So as far as I know, you've got, you got your photography, you got your e-commerce business, you're heavy into NFTs, but like, tell us, like, take us back. Like, you grew up in Washington. What brought you to California? Yeah. What brought you into like this world of like entrepreneur and NFTs and crypto and things like that?
For sure, man. I mean, it's a long story, but I can go on for as long as you want. But
as much as you want, bro. Go ahead.
Yeah, man. So ever since I was like really young, I'd say like 12-ish, 13-ish, I was just fascinated with online business and the fact that, you can make money in non-traditional ways, like from a laptop. I was always so fascinated by that. I grew up in a small town. It's called Tumwater, Washington. It's like next to Olympia. So it's a very small town. And, I just saw like my parents as a teacher or my mom as a teacher. And, she was trying to raise 2 kids on, $29,000 salary. And I saw, my parents' friends going to jobs they didn't like just to work. And I always had this thing in the back of my mind, like there has to be a different way. Like there has to be another way than just, going to work 9 to 5, coming home, watching Netflix and repeating. Right. And so
yeah.
When I was really young, it was just drilled into me that like, man, I need to find another way to make this work. So I remember I was, like I said, 12 or 13, and it's a typical entrepreneur story, but I Googled how to make money online. And I stumbled on this platform called Black Hat World. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
Mm-mm.
So it was like the OG internet marketing forum. So it's kind of like Twitter nowadays, where people will share like value packed threads and, you know, their
Yeah.
methods for online business. So I found this when I
Okay.
was 13, right? And this was another part of, you know, a big part of my life is I'm from a massive sports family. So
Okay.
my grandpa was my high school coach, football coach. He's got the most wins in Washington State history.
Oh, wow.
My uncle, you know, won a Rose Bowl at USC as a quarterback. My dad played basketball in Australia. My mom was a volleyball coach. You know, my cousin's about to get drafted in the NFL. It goes on and on and on.
Cool. Cool.
And yeah, so I was kind of raised as this, you know, in my mind, I had to be this perfect golden boy and kind of follow this path. So I played quarterback, and, you know, I love sports, and I still
Yeah.
do, but I always had this other interest in, like, you know, making money and being, you know, an entrepreneur when I was really young. So long story short, like, this had always been in my mind. I was still trying to, you know, play football and all that. And I kind of kept this as a secret, like my little thing that I would go into my cave in my room and, you know, be on Black Hat World all night, like trying to figure out how to make money as a young kid. Right.
Yeah.
And I stumbled upon this thread of people who owned Twitter accounts, like themed Twitter accounts, you know, where
Oh,
they
yeah. Okay.
yeah, where they would repost, you know, it wouldn't be like a personal account, but it would be, you know, stuff like meme Bible or, you know, stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was like, wait, people are running these accounts and they're charging for shout outs, blah, blah, blah. And so I saw this thread about it and I was like, oh, this is interesting. And ended up getting into that community, talked to a guy who was like killing it with that. And then I bought my first Twitter account. And so I had this Twitter account that I was running, and I was, you know, charging people for shout outs and running that. And eventually what I started doing was buying and selling Twitter accounts. So
Oh,
I would
whoa.
buy an account, clean it up, run it for like a month, and then I'd flip that account. And I did that over and over again. And eventually I was like 13, 14, and I became like the guy that people would go to if they were trying to sell a Twitter account, right?
Whoa.
And so what I ended up doing was middlemaning transactions. So I had like a pool of buyers, a pool of sellers, and I would middleman that transaction and take a fee. And so that's what I did when I was, you know, a freshman in high school, sophomore in high school.
No way.
Yeah, so that's kind of how I started in the journey, and I got connected with all these, you know, all these guys who were into internet marketing. This is a really long story. I'm sorry. I'm kind of
No, go ahead. Keep going, dude, because this is great.
Yeah, so that's how I got my initial start, and it, you know, it was kind of like the wild, wild west, kind of like how NFTs are, where
Yeah.
there was a lot of scams going on. You know, it was hard to vet people, and so there was a lot of scams that happened where, you know, deals would fall through, and like I was just dealing with shady people, and it got to a point where I was like, okay, I don't know if I should do this anymore. But what I did notice is most of these people who were running the Twitter accounts, they started making e-commerce brands and using their traffic to, you know, boost their stores basically. And this is when Shopify had like just come out. This is when Shopify was like barely even a thing.
Yeah.
And I was 17 now at this point, and I was like, oh shit, people are making Shopify stores, and, you know, they're finding products in Alibaba and just, you know, promoting it that way.
Yeah.
And I went a little bit of a different route. I found a bamboo supplier in China, and I had an idea. I was on the lake one day in summer, and my sunglasses floated to the bottom of the lake, right? Because
Oh,
they
okay.
fell and dropped in the water, whatever. So I was like, there's got to be like, is there floating sunglasses that exist? And it didn't exist. So I hit up this bamboo supplier. I'm like, hey, can you make me a prototype of some sunglass frames? I want to see if they float. And so I'm talking to this Chinese supplier on WhatsApp, and they're like, yeah, we can do that. They send me a picture of these frames that are floating in the sink. I'm like, oh, they actually float. So I had that prototype sent over to me, and then I bought, I think it was like 300 pairs was my first order.
Okay.
And I
Wow.
called it Beach Bum Outfitter. So it was a floating
Oh,
sunglasses brand. Yeah, so I started running that. I did all organic marketing, and it was just like, it wasn't crazy, but it was taking off. You know, I was making sales and spending zero in ad spend. I was
cool.
just using my network, and back in the day, you could do like follow and follow and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And so I was running that, and I'm a freshman in college at this point. I was playing college football as well at the time. So I have this brand. I'm playing college football. I'm packaging orders from my garage. I'm trying to, get good grades and have a social life and all this. So it came to the
Right.
point where like I have to choose between my football career or continuing to run this brand. And ultimately I decided to sell the business.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
yeah, so I sold 60% of it. So I was going to be a 40% like silent partner. And I was this
Okay.
young
Yeah.
kid. I thought I was going to be collecting these crazy checks, because the company that bought me out, they promised me that like I would be in all the sororities and frats across the US because they supplied all the apparel for them.
Oh, wow.
And
Okay.
they
Yeah.
made all these big promises, and I was like telling everybody like, "Holy shit, I made it! Like this is gonna be crazy." Blah blah blah. Long story short, they ended up pretty much doing nothing with the brand. It kind of collected dust. All the promises kind of went out the window.
Wow.
And I was sitting there just like, not sure what to do because
Did
I thought,
they did
go
they
ahead.
pay you for the 60% though?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I
Okay.
made, it was like, I was 18 years old. So I made like 17 grand.
Okay. Well, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But
Still,
then,
but you wanted the residual money. That's why you sell a business and
exactly.
you stay as
And
a side owner.
so, yeah, yeah. And so what happened was,
Yeah.
I learned so many lessons in this period of time, but, I thought all this money was going to come in, right? So
Yeah.
I started acting lavishly, like I was traveling and stuff. I bought a car, very stupid decisions. And ultimately,
Sure.
it came to the point where no money came in from that business. So I had pretty much nothing under my belt business wise at this point.
Yeah.
And football wasn't going well. I didn't get any playing time. Ended up quitting football as
Yeah.
well. Like the girlfriend I had in high school, she ended up leaving. Like all this stuff happened within a span of 2 months. Like my childhood dog died. Like all this crazy
Oh,
stuff.
no.
And yeah, so all that happened, and I was kind of left in a point where I kind of went through like an identity crisis, if you will. And I
Sure.
was like, I didn't have football, I had no business anymore, and I was pretty much, I was forced to like do something about it, right? And so this is the time where I was introduced to like meditation and gratitude and law of attraction and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And in my mind, before that, I had thought that like meditating was hippie or like woo woo, like only hippies do that, right?
Right, right, right.
And so that's what my brand is founded on now, is to like demystify mindfulness and what it means to like take care of your mental health. And so I went through this whole mental health crisis, right? And, meditation and like gratitude and focusing on the positive pretty much saved me and got me out of that position. And that's how I was able to found this brand. That's when I
Yeah.
got into photography. And the rest is kind of history. So I guess that's a
Wow.
very long story, but that's kind of how I arrived here. And I guess the San Diego part is I always dreamed of like living in California. My uncle's from here or
Yeah.
moved down here. And every time I visit him, like this place is amazing. Like I want to be a surfer. Like I want to live by the ocean. I want to see palm trees every day. And yeah, so I just moved down here and made it happen. This was like 4 years ago, and I've been here ever since. So
That's
it's been quite the journey, man.
dude, that's dope, man. And dude, that I mean, there's a lot to unpack in that story that you're
For
telling
sure,
people,
for
right?
sure.
Because it's interesting, at the beginning of the story, you said like you tried to keep your entrepreneurial ventures like as a secret, right?
Right.
Um, did you keep that from like everybody, or were there some
I,
friends
well,
who?
yeah, I mean, my parents kind of knew about it. They didn't know. I mean, they still don't really know. Like
Yeah,
I try to explain what an NFT is, and they're like, what are you doing?" A few of
of
my
course.
close friends kind of knew about it. I tried to put them on, like, "Yo, I'm doing this
Yeah,
Twitter thing," and they're just like, "What are you talking about? Like, we're 13, bro. Like, let's just go BMX and
yeah,
whatever." But I don't know. I don't know if I was ashamed or if it was like something I wanted to keep to myself. I don't know why I kind of
sure,
kept it low key, but yeah, I guess. And then, later in my life, I realized that being, authentic and like putting yourself out there online creates way more opportunities for you. So like
yeah.
I'm a huge advocate for that now. But
No, that's dope, dude. And I love the sweater, by the way. I mean, your
thanks,
whole
man.
your whole new e-commerce brand is dope.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. So then I think it's interesting. So you ended up going in collegiate sports and deciding either like to stay doing football or to move to like the e-commerce world, like entrepreneurial world, and you decided to sell your business. What made you decide, like, well, first of all, like, I think it's interesting that even as a freshman in college, or however old you were at the time, I think it's interesting that you decided to sell it and not just like give it up, right? And like let it kind of fizzle,
Right.
right? What, yeah,
Yeah, I
what, tell me
think
that story.
yeah, I think what what went through my mind there is like the offer that I got was that I would still own 40%. So like
Oh, okay.
part of me was like, okay, I can still, retain this business while focusing on football because I still had a dream of like, being this college quarterback and potentially like having a career, you
Yeah.
know. And so like that offer, being a silent partner and still having that brand underneath me kind of,
Yeah.
I think it made sense to me. It's like, okay, I can see how this goes and still play football. And yeah, that's
And
kind
they
of
just did, and
what
they
happened.
just didn't do anything with it. They just let it die.
Yeah, I mean, the most they did, they had this physical store that they put a few in, and that was
That's
really it. They
crazy.
they did nothing online, like
Did they
yeah, it
have
was
like,
crazy.
did they just buy it to, because some businesses do that. Some businesses just like buy it to kill it. Like a good example of that is like, are you, I mean, everybody knows Starbucks, but did you
Yeah.
know, there used to be a tea shop called Tavana?
Oh, okay. No, I didn't
Okay,
know that.
so it was really cool. It was like it was like Starbucks, but the coffee version of Starbucks. You could get like all these different kinds of tea and like different flavors, and it was like really cool. And then Starbucks bought them and
Oh, okay.
shut down all the stores, and like you can't find Tavana anywhere. You can't buy it on a website. There's no
Wow.
Tavana in Starbucks. I mean, there's like one or two drinks, but Tavana used to be like a big, used to be like a coffee shop, but it was like a tea. It was like instead of going to a bar or a coffee shop, like you would, hey, let's just go get some tea, like down here
Wow.
in downtown Salt Lake or whatever. And now you can't find them anywhere. It's
So it was
crazy.
like a deliberate approach. I mean, maybe
Yeah.
they did that. I never really even thought of that. Like, that's kinda crazy.
Some people do that. Some people are like, we don't want people drinking tea anymore. So Starbucks is going to swoop them all up, buy them, and then pretend like there was no market. I'm like, are you kidding me? We would go there every weekend. The place would be packed. There'd be
Right?
lines outside waiting for this tea, right? It
Yeah, I
was
don't know if
insane.
that was their intention, but, yeah, ultimately, it just, whatever I thought was gonna happen didn't, and so,
Didn't.
I was kind of at a crossroads. But yeah,
Yeah.
I mean
Interesting. Yeah, interesting that you mentioned the word, like the phrase crossroads, and then mention that that's where you find gratitude and law of attraction and mindfulness and all these things. What drew you to that, right? Because I mean, crossroads is the perfect analogy. You're either gonna like get pissed and you know what I mean, and find a
exactly.
lot of anger, or like find peace
Yeah,
and like just realize life happens and move on, right?
right, and I mean, I did go through, the anger part. Well, not
Yeah, I
anger.
think we all do, but but I think we all do, but like eventually you got to make like a permanent decision almost, right? Like, am I gonna let this
Exactly,
be pissed or am I
exactly.
gonna go?
Yep, so I think I went through, kind of both of that, but I think I was at a point where, I really had no choice except to, like, look internally because I was someone who, you know, it seemed like everything was good for me always, like, obviously, I
Yeah,
grew up with struggles, we didn't have a lot of money, my parents divorced, all that stuff,
yeah,
but at the same time, it felt like I could do like, I was kind of invincible in a way, and it was super egotistical. I didn't have a big ego, but, like, that's how I
right,
thought, like, "Oh, anything I can
right,
do, I can make happen," and, like, I got humbled really quick, going through that, and so I was
yeah,
just at a point where, like, I had to look inward because I was living outward. All my whole life, I was just living outward. And so
yeah.
I got to a point where I had to look inward. And I remember, I think I like went on YouTube and saw The Secret. I don't know. It's like a super cheesy law
Oh
of
yeah,
attraction.
yeah, it's like Oprah Winfrey's like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I
yeah,
found The Secret and I'm like, oh, this is interesting. And I,
yeah,
I watched that whole thing. And then I was like, whoa, like this is dope. So I just went deeper. I started reading a ton of books.
yeah.
Um, I got into Joe Dispenza. I don't know if you've seen his stuff.
It sounds really familiar, but I don't think
Yeah,
I, yeah.
yeah, he's like a really good philosopher, but he puts like science behind it. And yeah, I
Oh,
just
that's
started
cool.
diving. Yeah, I just started diving into these books on like meditation and law of attraction and the power of the mind and all
Yeah,
that stuff. And I kind of got sold on it, if you will, and it changed my life. I started going inward and like my outwardly experience changed, and so I wanted to share that with people through a brand because when I was like conceiving this brand, I had seen that there was very like spiritual brands who were super like woo woo and very out there, super like psychedelic vibes.
yeah,
And then there was these streetwear brands that were the opposite, like it was demonic or like very like edgy stuff.
Yeah.
And so I kind of wanted to bridge that gap. So it kind of looks like an edgy streetwear brand, but it has a positive message. So I wanted to kind of be like a black sheep in the streetwear industry. So
That
that's kind of
that
how
was
I
dope.
conceived the idea, I guess.
Yeah, no, that's really cool, man. I really enjoy, well, the whole brand is really cool. And it's funny, like, it's just like we kind of have like, I think we are like drawn to each other, like, because we just have these ideas that if you can like change your thoughts, and it doesn't have to be like weird. Like
Right.
you can have like normal people and be like, oh no, like meditation, law of attraction for sure. Absolutely. Because yeah, my whole thinking project is based around that. Like you just gotta like open your mind and like expand yourself and really understand like what's going on. And then things start to happen, right? Things start to
Yep.
succeed. You know what I'm saying? So
Exactly. Exactly.
so how do you find, I mean, you talked about gratitude, and all these things. How do you stay in like a grateful mindset? Like what are some things that you do to stay grateful?
Yeah. I mean, some days it's hard, right? Like we're human, shit happens. It can be tough, but I think like the root of what keeps me stoked is like I woke up today, like literally the most simple things. Like,
Yeah.
dude, like I could like if I find myself in, a place of lack, I just think like, man, I can walk, I can talk, I can see, like, the small things. I got food in the fridge, I have a roof over my head, clothes on my
Yeah.
back. Like I literally, if like I said, if I'm ever in a mindset of lack, I just think of the most simple things that I take for granted, and that always like grounds me and
Yeah.
centers me.
Yeah.
And like the fact that I'm in here looking at palm trees out of my window, like just small things like that. I think that's what I go back to.
Yeah.
And then I also do, like a gratitude meditation every single morning. So before I actually like sit there and try to be present, I go through what I'm grateful for, just in my head. And
Yeah.
then after that session, I go into, like a future tense gratitude session. So I'll say like, I'm grateful now that, because it like
Oh yeah.
programs my mind that it's already happened. And so that's
Yeah.
another thing that helps me is I have like a whole gratitude meditation routine. But I'd say the biggest thing that most people can practice and something that's valuable to everybody is just thinking of the simple things, man, because
Yeah.
it's truly like the small things are huge in the grand scheme of things. So
No,
yeah.
that's dude, that's perfect. I mean, because it really is just about those small things because I rode I I watched a video on gratitude and there was like a shaman or he was some Buddhist, I can't remember. But anyway, he's describing gratitude and he was like, you know, true gratitude are things that are like given to you freely, like that you didn't
Mm,
earn. And I'm like, yeah, man, that's so true. But I feel like I take that one step further because I really feel like a lot everything that like, and I call it like nature and that fate brings to us is nothing that's earned. Like the good stuff we didn't really, the good stuff just comes and like the bad stuff just comes, right? Like
right. And
we
it's
didn't.
borrowed. I think the big part is
Yeah,
it's borrowed, right?
right. And like because I say that to people like if there's a really hardship in your life, like I do believe in accountability and responsibility, but it's also like I take that even a step further. It's like, yeah, we're responsible, we're accountable for like fate right now and like what we do with it and how we handle it. And while it may have been some of our actions that put us in this mess, like it will be our actions and our responsibilities that get us out of this mess. You know
Dude,
what I mean? So it's like
yes.
that's it, right?
1000%, man. 1000%. Yeah, I totally agree with you on that. Yeah.
That's cool. That's cool. So tell me now, because you're going through your new e-commerce brand. So what happened when Beach Bum Outfitters died? Essentially, right? Like whatever happened there. Um, and then your new e-commerce brand. Like, what made you want to come onto the new e-commerce?
Yeah. So after that happened, what did I do? I'm trying to think back. I've done so many things.
You've done so many
Um,
things, dude.
yeah. So after that, I got into like social media management. So
Okay, yeah.
I was doing like freelance social media management. Um,
So like
and
creating content, posting it, coming up with
right.
campaigns, things like that.
Yeah. So I was doing that here and there, like trying to support myself through college.
Sure.
Um, Ended up graduating college, and then when I moved down to San Diego, I ended up I wanted to kind of be secure, and I kind of threw the entrepreneurship thing out the window for a little bit because I knew
Yeah.
that, I had to get my foot in the door somehow. And, I've never wanted to work in an office, right? But
Yeah.
it was at a point where I knew I had to do it for a little bit, but I still, in the back of my mind knew
Right.
that I
It's a
had to
means
do
to
it
an
more.
end. Yeah.
Exactly. It was a means to an end.
Yeah.
So after I graduated college, I moved down here and I was the in-house social media manager for Blenders Eyewear. It's like a big sunglasses
Oh,
company.
yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
cool, man.
Yeah, so I did that for 9 months, I think it was.
Okay.
And after that, this is a crazy story. This would take like hours. But after that, this like Amazon guru guy contacted me, right? He's like,
Okay.
"Hey, I've heard you're really good with social media and digital marketing, blah, blah, blah." He flies out, picks me up in like a chromed out Tesla. It's a really long story. Anyways, he offers me a job. I end up taking that job and I'm like traveling around with him. He's like ultra rich. That ended up being like this crazy story where it was basically a facade. Like everything that
Yeah.
he had promised me was completely like fraudulent. Like all this stuff happened. So I was there for 3 months. And after
All
that,
of that happened. All of that happens in 3 months. That's
yeah,
quick,
man.
bro.
Oh, it was
Wow, dude.
crazy. The story's way more in depth. I don't know if I want to go into it, but
Dude, whatever you're comfortable with, man. As much, it doesn't matter to me.
yeah, well, basically, he just ended up being one of those gurus who sells courses who isn't actually like, offering value, just treating
Oh,
employees
yeah.
bad,
Yeah.
just not a guy I wanted to associate myself with. So
Okay.
I
Okay.
ended up
That
parting
makes
ways
sense.
with him. Yeah, so I ended up parting ways with him, and that's when I founded the brand Mindful Society. It was actually
Yeah.
I was in Puerto Rico with him, and right, we had split ways, and it was on the flight home where this idea popped in my mind, and I made like a whole business plan on this flight back
Oh,
home.
that's dope, man.
Yeah, man, it was really cool. And so it just all clicked. It was like a divine experience. It was kind of crazy. So
That's
I get
cool.
back, yeah, so I get back to San Diego and I just started working on this brand. I launched a Kickstarter for it. We raised $10,000 in 30 days
Nice.
to start it. Yeah, so we raised 10 grand. I was able to like get our first order in. I got a trademark and all that stuff, which, propelled me into doing it. And it's a very slow grind, man, because I'm
Sure.
doing like all my packaging in house. I don't want to go the print on demand route. So I'm like, I know it's going to be a slow route, but it's something that I see as being like my passion project till I croak, basically,
Yeah,
so.
dude. I think that's dope. What made you not want to do print on demand?
Yeah, so I did try a few different print on demand shops just to like see the experience, and I
Mm.
couldn't find any that had the like experience that I wanted because I want to have like
Okay.
custom mailers. I want to be able to put my personal touch on, the notes, like personal notes and stickers and all that, and none of those shops really offer that. Like if you were to order something on print on demand, you would get like a blank plastic mailer and the tag would still be on, like,
Oh,
and so
yeah.
I really wanted to customize that experience because I think that's what, retains customers and, builds a
Yeah.
community is that experience.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, for
so,
sure.
yeah, and so now I've got custom labels and, I have my custom mailers and all that stuff. And so I just really wanted to own that part of the process. And so that's
Yeah.
why I chose to do that. So yeah.
That's cool. I remember having that same experience like when I started selling. I did in 2020. This is also a long story. But
Okay.
in 2020, I started like a CBD brand with a couple partners,
Oh,
and
dope.
yeah, and we got our first customers. And at first I was just sending the CBD and like nothing. It was just we would just throw the bottles in there and ship them out. And
Right.
one of my buddies bought the CBD and he goes, "Dude, where's my like thank you note? Like, where's the card, bro?" And
Exactly.
I'm like, "Oh shoot, yeah, you're right." So then we go on Canva and I make like a cool little thing on Canva and then
Yep.
have them mailed to me. And he buys it again and I send him a card and I'm like, "What's," and a little extra bottle for the. He's like, "Bro, this is it. This is what's up."
Yeah,
And
man.
so the funny thing is the brand ends up failing because none of the partners are wanting to be involved as much as they thought they wanted to be. But what was cool is I remember also watching a video of Gary V
Okay.
um putting in, like, somebody ordered wine and they sent him, and obviously like you get their name and everything, right? So somebody bought some wine. They did some research on social media and found out that he was like whatever, and gave him like a gift, like sent him wine with a gift,
Okay.
and like ended up helping out a ton with the sales. So I ended up doing that with like a few people, and it like massively helped our sales. And I was like,
Wow.
that's it, man. I'm like, that's what's up, right?
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's it's really the like I said earlier, the small things, man, even in business, like
Yeah.
those minute details can really like make or break a customer relationship, I think.
Right,
Um,
right. And
and
when
yeah, so I just always wanted to own that process. And even though it's cost me a ton of scalability and like, because with the print on demand, it's unlimited, right? You can run ads for as long as you want. Like there's no middleman, like all that stuff.
yeah.
But it's just a choice I made, like knowing that this is something I'm going to work on for life.
Yeah.
I didn't want it to be because another part that I left out of my story is I did a bunch of drop shipping, right? And I was never really
Oh, okay.
crazy successful with it. But every time I would create a new store and like list these Alibaba products, right? It didn't fill me up at all. Like it was like completely monetary, right? It was like
Yeah.
I'm just gonna post this drop shipping store and like basically I don't care about the product. I don't care about any of that.
Right.
And
That's a
so
great point. Yeah, that's a
yeah,
great
man.
point.
And so I just didn't want to have any of that, vibe with this brand because it's something that I'm like public about. It's something that I want to be like associated with me, for the rest of my life. So it's,
Yeah.
I guess that I'm just taking the long game with this one.
Oh no, that's great though, because a few things that I just learned while you were talking was like, a company's brand is really about the experience, like before, during, and after. And
Yep.
and the other thing is like I was just having a conversation about this at work, like yesterday, in fact, I think. And there was this guy, he'd heard a lot of my podcast episodes, and he was like, I want to do like drop shipping and all these things. And I go, yeah, but dude, like that's first of all, it's like really hard to drop ship. If you want to be successful, it's mostly ad driven. Like you're not really looking for your friends or family to buy these products, like
Right.
for the most part, right? And what you said, right? Like it's interesting that you pointed that out. It's like you don't really love this. Like the second it gets hard, you're out because it's not you.
Exactly, man. Exactly. And that's, that kind of came to that conclusion is like, I want to be, life's short. Like I want to be working on
Yeah,
things that, fulfill me. And I
yeah,
found myself like, doing these beauty products from China and stuff. It was just, it wasn't me at all. It was just
right,
like, oh,
right.
I was trying to be somebody I'm not. I wanted to be
Yeah,
this like drop ship hustler and, take screenshots of my Shopify dashboard and shit. And like, that's not, that's not me at all, man. And so,
right, right.
I'm
Well,
taking the long
yeah.
approach with this. Like, it's still not my full-time income, or it's not supporting me yet. Like, it's all going back into the business. And
Hmm.
so, what I have been doing to support me is me and my girlfriend. She's also like a creative badass, and
Cool.
we have a creative content agency where we do photography and videography for e-commerce brands. So that's kind of what's supporting me, as well as like the NFTs and crypto stuff,
Yeah, dude.
while I build this. So it's nice that I have a skill that I can kind of lean on while I try to
Yeah.
build this up as well.
And dude, everybody needs a creator. I heard Mark Cuban talking about, or was it Mark Cuban? Or was it the other guy, Kevin O'Leary? I think
Oh,
it was
okay.
actually Kevin O'Leary. Was like, he's like, I used to tell people to go to school for engineering. Now I tell them to go to school for like being a creator. He's like
Yep.
a content creator, because every brand needs videos, especially like good videos. Like if you can get a great video and great pictures, like that's what people buy.
Yep. 1,000%. Yeah, we've had a lot of fun with it, man. Like, so a little backstory on that. She was also like an in-house social media manager at another e-commerce brand here in San Diego called Fresh
Okay.
Cookies.
Yeah.
And we were both in the jobs at the same time. So I was a social media manager at Blender. She was at Fresh Clean Teas. And after that whole Amazon guru thing happened, she wasn't happy in her job. And so we were like, okay, what do we both love from our jobs? And how can we package this into a business that we can run together? Right. And
Yeah.
she loved the content creation side of it. She worked with all the photographers and videographers. She would go to the shoots and set up the props and hire the models and all that.
Yeah.
And what I loved at Blenders was, curating social media feeds and creating content.
Yeah.
And so we were like, all right, we're going to quit she was going to quit her job and we're going to team up and do this. And at first it was kind of slow, but, we got our first client. He referred us to another client. He referred us to another guy. we started doing, like sending like 30 to 50 DM out, cold DMs a day. And
Yeah, cold
kind of
DMs, bro.
snowballed from there. And now we've got a couple on retainer. And yeah, man, we're super busy at the moment. So it's been about a year or so since
Cool.
we started doing
Oh,
that.
dude.
Maybe a year and a half. I don't know. My
Yeah,
like
that's cool.
time's so shot. Um,
Well, dude, when you got all
yeah,
the mine too, bro. Like when you got all the stuff going on and you're succeeding on every front because then you're selling your NFTs. Like what made you as a well, first of all, like NFTs for photography is like revolutionary. I don't know why if you're not a photographer and you're not doing if you're a photographer and you're not doing NFTs to sell your work, I don't know what
dude, exactly, man. I've
I don't
told
know what you're
so
doing.
many people who are still on Instagram. I'm like, yo, get on Twitter, like get into this community. This is a crazy opportunity. And
Yeah.
bro, I appreciate you copping one of my pieces.
Oh
That
yeah,
made
dude, absolutely.
that's awesome.
Absolutely.
Sorry, I got lost. What was your question again?
Right. What made you decide to end up going into NFTs for your photography?
Yeah. Yeah. So I had been into crypto back in like 2017. Not really into it. I heard about it. I bought a few
Right.
things, sold them early. I don't like to think about it. It's crazy what I would have made if I kept it, anyways. But
That's
so,
awesome.
anyways, I was introduced to crypto in 2017.
Okay.
Kind of push it to the side. I looked into it a little bit, thought it was a little weird, but it was cool.
Yeah.
Got distracted with other things. And then 2020 came around, and this is obviously when like Bitcoin and Ethereum started to make some noise.
Yeah.
And I bought some Bitcoin, got like heavy into the Bitcoin community, and just kind of fell in love with like the crypto scene. And so I was in the crypto scene on Twitter, of course. This is when I was like, on Twitter, just like tweeting my thoughts, trying to add value, whatever.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and I had seen, some photographers come out with NFT collections, and there was very few. Like, I can probably count on one finger how many photographers were doing this. And I can't
Right.
remember who it was, but I stumbled upon a photography NFT collection on OpenSea, and I
Okay.
was like, "Wait, what the hell? Like, this dude selling his photos on the blockchain? What is this?" And so I
Yeah,
was
dude.
so I was like so intrigued. I was like, "Wait, like people bought this for Ethereum and now they can resell it? Like, what?" I was just like so mind blown. So I was like, "Babe, like I can't do anything right now. I gotta go." And I dove, dude, like dove deep in the rabbit hole. And I was on YouTube,
Yeah.
I was on Twitter, I was, watching video after video about what an NFT is, how it works, what the blockchain is, what is OpenSea, how do I mint a photo, all that stuff.
Right.
And so, yeah, I just did my research and I was like, oh shit, I'm sitting on like, 100 plus photos. And I just kind of sent it. I was like, all right,
Yeah.
I figured out how to mint a photo, created my first collection, launched it on Twitter, and it sold out. And I was like, holy shit, like this is insane.
Yeah.
So that completely sold out. I was like mind blown. It felt like a movie, it was crazy. And
Right.
so I was like, all right, I'm going to build on this momentum. I launched my second collection. That one sold out as well. And recently it's become a lot. This is like I said, it was very unsaturated when I first started.
Yeah.
So, I was able to get like a lot of, I guess, viewership in the market. Now it's pretty saturated, and I've kind of like used a lot of my ammo of like the photos that I was sitting on. So I haven't been able to come up with like a new collection in a long time.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's how I initially got into it, and I've just been, introduced to a lot of cool people in the community, and
That's dope,
continued
man.
to try to make a name for myself in the NFT space.
Yeah.
I guess that's kind of the story about how I got into it.
No, that's cool though, and your pictures are dope. Like that, and
Thank
that's
you.
what
Thank you.
yeah, yeah, that's what I'm saying though. It's like if you're an artist or creative, you need to be doing stuff on like Ethereum because it's just like this is how we like get paid for what we do. The no more starving artists. Like this is how we
Exactly.
get paid. Like
Exactly, man.
and people should. You
Yeah,
should.
it's so obvious because, back in the I like to say like web 2 versus web 3, right? Like
Yeah,
web 2, man, people are vultures for your stuff. Like,
for sure.
hotels will post your photos with no credit, or, you know, they'll even like use your stuff in ads without even contacting you.
Right, and there's nothing you can do about it, like, for the
Yeah,
most part. You can tell them, like, "Hey," you can pay a lawyer and be like, "Well, cease and desist," and then they just take it down, but, like, you didn't get any credit for it anyway, like, there's no money involved, like, and what are
exactly.
you gonna do? What are you gonna do, fight Holiday Inn? Like, I can't fight Holiday Inn.
Exactly, man. So yeah, I think this is just opening up a whole new world of opportunities for creators. And that's something that I want to do long term. Like obviously I have so much going on and I
Yeah,
need to
sure.
like focus because I feel spread thin, you know, which
Yeah,
but eventually I do want to, you know, like create informative, valuable, even like YouTube videos of how to get into this as a
yeah,
creator because I feel like you know, the people I have talked to, they're like, dude, I just don't understand this. Like, I can't wrap my mind around it. And people aren't really willing to go there. Like, if they don't understand something, they're just gonna write it off and not really explore it again. And so I want
right.
to be like a resource that I can really dumb it down for them. So that's something I'm
Oh, yeah.
thinking about doing, you know, in the next whatever year or so, like trying to be a presence that way.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, man, the opportunity is just it's insane.
Yeah, that's crazy, bro. No, dude, good for you. I mean, you're crushing it. I'm
Thank you, bro.
was really like excited when we connected. I always get, dude, I'm always like I'm always so humbled like at the people that I meet with this podcast because I'm like, this is so freaking cool. I'm
Yeah,
like,
no, this is awesome, dude.
you know, I tell people, like I told people today, like, dude, I'm interviewing Jay Croft. They're like, who's that? I'm like, well, go on Twitter, bro. What are you talking about? Who's that? I say that to all.
That's
I'm
awesome,
like,
dude.
because it's so hard. Like the number one question I get asked on my podcast is like, have you interviewed anyone famous? And the question used to like get me down, but now I'm
Yeah,
like, now I just answer like, what do you mean by famous? Like, because I've interviewed a lot of really awesome people, you
right.
know, and so but it's really cool, dude. So I appreciate you being here, dude. I appreciate you taking the time.
Dude, 1000%, man. No, I've had a great time, man, and if you ever wanna, you know, chop it up off the video, like, I'm always down, dude.
We'll do that for sure. But hey, before we go, tell everybody where they can find you on Twitter, where they can find your, you know, if people are listening to this in Cali, how can they get a hold of your social media stuff? Like what's going on? Tell everybody where to
Yeah,
find you.
absolutely. Thanks, man. Yeah, so my Twitter is at Mr. J. Croft. Are you gonna put, like, little
Yeah,
subtitles?
yep, I will.
Alright,
Yeah, I'll put, when it goes live, I'll put all the descriptions there for sure.
alright, solid. Yeah, so Twitter is at Mr. J. Croft. Instagram is J_Croft. And my brand is shopmindfulsociety.com.
Shopmindfulsociety.com. All right, bro.
Yeah,
Dude, that's awesome, man. Well, hey, thank you so much for being here, bro.
absolutely. Thank you, man.